It's time for the Writer's Block. I'm Jenny Carlson here in the studios at the Oklahoman, and I'm joined by Cedric Golden from the studios of the Austin American-Statesman. Cedric, how's it going?
It's going great. J. Carr was shaking.
Oh, there are lots of things to talk about, but let's start with our lead this week. That's the NBA Draft Lottery. Obviously, the college basketball season was all about Zion Williamson, and lo and behold, the NBA Draft Lottery became all about Zion Williamson as well. Pelicans get that number one pick. Cedric, are you feeling bad at all for the Knicks, the Lakers, for these teams that didn't get the number one pick?
Well, you know, the last time the Knicks won a championship, I don't even know if you were on the planet yet, but I was just learning to speak the language. And so I think I feel bad for them. You can't feel bad for the Lakers. They're the most storied franchise beside the Celtics. They have LeBron, so you can't get all the great players. I know the NBA bean counters were not too happy to see New Orleans get that pick because that's not a huge media market. The league is better off when the Lakers and the Knicks are really good. They should have froze that ping pong ball like they did when they stole Patrick Ewing.
I guess if anybody says that it's still rigged, maybe they got to look at where some of these great players have gone. LeBron, drafted by the Cavaliers back in the day. Now, the next LeBron looks like he's going to be drafted in New Orleans. Definitely the small markets. It doesn't always work out that those big markets get the picks. And I'm like you, Cedric. I don't feel bad at all for the Lakers. I mean, they've been living with their own mistakes for a long time now. I mean, they sort of had Kobe on that extended retirement farewell. His deal, his contract was really kind of out of whack for where he was, and it really set them on a bad path, and they've just kind of been trying to dig out of that hole now for a while. So no, I don't feel bad for them, and frankly, I don't feel bad for the Knicks either. They've been mismanaged in so many ways over the years that yeah, it has been a long time since they've been any good, but boy, they've had some missteps too. But here's what I think is interesting, and what we can't know at this point is what are the Pelicans going to do as it relates to not only this pick, but Anthony Davis. The word is that the Superstar Center still wants out of New Orleans, still wants to be traded. We know what happened in the regular season. Cedric, what's the chance that opening night, Anthony Davis and Zion Williamson are both wearing Pels jerseys?
I don't think that's going to happen, Jan. I think that dude wants out of the Big Easy. He wants to go to a bigger media market. I think he's going to end up with the Los Angeles Lakers or the Los Angeles Clippers, and Kawhi Leonard might be part of that mix. If you can get him, Kawhi Leonard, in the same uniform, whether LeBron is on the team or not, that team becomes an instant contender in the West. Yeah. I think if he goes to the LA Clippers and plays for Doc Rivers and Kawhi comes down from Toronto, they take over Tinseltown. They make LeBron look even older, and Magic Johnson comes over and runs the Clippers because that's what Magic does. He follows the winners.
You've got it all figured out. Yeah, and I don't know what's going to happen, but I do think the Pelicans, they hold a lot of chips now. It's going to be really interesting to see what Alvin Gentry, what their ownership, what they really want to try to do down there in New Orleans. Where do some of these free agents that look to maybe be on the move in the offseason, where do they go? How do the Raptors finish? They lose game one in the Eastern Conference Finals. We'll talk more about those conference finals here in a minute. But, what if they get to the NBA Finals? What if they win the whole thing by some, unexpected stroke of luck for the Raptors in a really loaded field? Does that potentially keep Kawhi there? I don't know. There's a lot of unknowns at this point. But I do think, even though obviously Zion Williamson is a great player, I think a lot of these teams that got top 5, top 7 type of picks, I think this is a pretty good draft class. So while all the attention goes to the Pelicans, to Zion Williamson, it's going to be interesting to see once the draft does roll around in late June, where do some of these players land? How many are the transcendent type that, the superstar type one day that we see around this league? Really interesting upcoming talk here as we head towards the draft. All right, let's go to segment 2, and let's go by the numbers, Cedric. Let's start with this one. It's 16, and this is a is it going to happen sort of number. Is that the number of major wins Tiger Woods is going to have by the end of this weekend? PGA Championship getting underway. He's already on the course as we speak in his first round. Not going so well. So does he get to 16 this weekend?
No, Tiger's not going to win this one. You can't expect Tiger to win them all. What was it, 12 years between majors? I don't even remember. It's been that long. I think I had hair before the last time he won one. So he was struggling early at the PGAs, looking rusty. The putter's on the fritz, and he can't keep it in the fairway. Let's just call the Masters what it was, a great moment in golf history. It doesn't mean that Tiger Woods is about to take over the sport again. Jay Carr, he was running things in the early 2000s. But now you have guys like Dustin Johnson and Rory McIlroy, Ricky Fowler, guys of that ilk, Jordan Spieth, that loved him growing up, but they don't fear Tiger anymore. Tiger's back in shape. He's feeling good about himself, but this is a tough sport to win back-to-back majors. That's not going to happen this week. I like his chances at the Open Championship in Ireland to end the season, but I think he should have probably played another tournament after the Masters or two to get ready for this one.
Yeah, and Cedric, what you said about how Tiger used to rule things, when he used to go into these major championships, people would talk, do you take Tiger or do you take the field? And even though it was one guy and the rest of them, he sometimes said, well, I got to take Tiger. He's just that good. The field has gotten so much better. Cedric, what you said about those younger guys not fearing Tiger, I think that's in part because of Tiger being at a different point in his career, but I also think you've got a bunch of guys that, they've won at a high level. Look at Brooks Koepka, a guy that doesn't get maybe the widespread attention that Dustin Johnson or Ricky Fowler or, some of these other guys get out there, but fantastic player, has won a bunch of majors already, very strong player, very strong individual. So I just think those guys, they know what they can do. They've been there before. So it's hard to pick against somebody else coming out of this major championship. But at the same time, I'm not sure anybody really said going into the Masters that it was Tiger's time again. He's definitely reestablished himself in a way I didn't know if it was possible. So we'll see when he gets to 16. I'm with you, though. I don't think it's this weekend. Here's my number, though, Cedric. It's 39, and this is a sport that may be under the radar for some people, but not in either of our necks of the woods, that being college softball. Oklahoma's softball team right now on a 39-game winning streak. It's the all-time longest single-season winning streak. They start NCAA regional play this weekend. Oklahoma's hosting, Oklahoma State's hosting, Texas is hosting a regional down in your neck of the woods. Cedric, lots of really great teams, but Oklahoma has elevated. Texas is having a resurgent year, Cedric, under Mike White, the new coach there. But, boy, Oklahoma has just kind of run away and hid from even really good teams. But Texas, they got to be feeling good about their chances to at least advance out of regional play, I would think.
Absolutely. They had a really bounce-back season in Mike White's first year in place of Connie Clark. Kirk Bowles and I had Mike White on our On Second Thought podcast this week, which dropped today, Thursday, and he talked about how big OU was. He said, are we on the same level as Oklahoma right now? No. We are not. Very few teams are. They are great. They are deep, and they're proud. The program is set. They are where Texas aspires to be. And as long as the Longhorns can somehow hold serve this weekend with Sam Houston State on Friday, and then I think it's A&M and Houston playing in the other regional. If they can come out of here with a dub and get to a super regional in Mike White's first year, I think that's going to go a long way in getting them back, trying to lessen that gap between them and the Oklahoma Sooners. And it's a pretty big gap. And that's nothing to say that Texas isn't very good. It's what OU is doing on a national level. They are having an historic type season, and anything but a national championship at this point will be considered a terrific disappointment.
Yeah, they seem to have a little bit of everything going for them, or a lot of everything going for them. Great pitching.
That Grace Green, she's a stud horse.
Yep,
Or is
great.
it a stud mare?
Great,
What would I say
great
there?
hitting. I mean,
don't know.
they've got fantastic hitters up and down their lineup, and then their defense is unbelievable. Sports Center top 10 plays type of great. So you see it in all facets, and then you add in the fact that they've been able to carry this winning streak to such great heights. It is impressive to see some other great teams around the country, UCLA, Washington, defending national champs, Florida State. Those will all be powerful opponents come Women's College World Series time. But, Oklahoma has shown a lot of toughness, a lot of tenacity, sort of, getting into that conversation for the best teams of all time. And if they win that championship, then you can really start to say, where do they belong in that conversation? All right, let's go to segment 3, Cedric, and we're going to talk about what happens in Vegas. We're going to talk a little bit about our favorites. Let's talk about the NBA playoffs. We've moved into the conference finals phase, Eastern Conference Finals, Western Conference Finals, both, as we talk, one game in. Who do you like coming out of the West? You still picking the Warriors even without that tall, skinny dude named Kevin Durant?
You mean that guy that could probably never come back to Oklahoma City and get cheered? Yeah. Golden State isn't as deep as they were when they won their last couple of championships, but they still have the Splash Brothers, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and the glue, Draymond Green, when he's not yelling at officials. I think they have a chance to win another one, to go 4 out of 5, because they just simply have the formula to win championships. They're good enough on defense, and they make shots. People forget how good Steph Curry is. And when he sent the Rockets home for the off season in Houston, I was there. Dwayne Wade tweeted out, "You people forget, just because Steph Curry is deferring a little bit to KD doesn't mean that he's not still a beast. He is still a beast. He's still a killer on that court." 9 3-pointers in game 1 against Portland. And I'm going to tell you, Jen, if Dame Lillard continues not to just struggle offensively, but to struggle defensively, allowing the guy he's guarding to get wide open shots, they may get swept. They need to play much better on defense. Portland is a talented squad. Dame Lillard and CJ McCollum are probably the most underrated great backcourt in the league. They just happen to be up against the Splash Brothers, and that's just a recipe for an L. I'm thinking Golden State wins in 5 games.
Yeah, I'm hard to bet against you on that one, Cedric, because even though Durant's injury, for however long it lasts, reduces the margin, gives them less margin for error, they still have a greater margin for error than any other team in the league because of that 3-point shooting prowess they have. I mean, obviously it starts with Steph and Klay, but they've got other guys that can hit it. And then they really seem to batten down the defensive hatches come playoff time. They know when they get into these series, they can learn a team's tendencies. They can really figure out how to take away what they want to do. And then if you add in a guy like Damian Lillard not playing well, it just plays into their hands. And so they can have stretches where maybe they're not spectacular or they don't hit everything. But again, that margin for error, it's still so wide for them. Not as wide as with Kevin Durant, but if they can win and win easily in this series, maybe that buys Durant a little more time to recover, to rehab. So I think it's setting up well for the Warriors to come out of the Western Conference, even a beefed up Western Conference. We've all talked about how much tougher the West was this year, and yet it looks like the result at the end going to be largely the same. Obviously out of the East, though, Cedric, it's going to be a different team than we've seen in a while, whether Toronto or Milwaukee comes out of this. After one game, who are you picking in this one? Who do you like to come out of the Eastern Conference?
I really like the Milwaukee Bucks. Now, the Toronto Raptors wasted 30 points from Kyle Lowry, who's been a dog in the worst sense of the word in game ones of playoff series. He was magnificent in game one, but Kawhi Leonard, the hero from the Eastern Conference semifinal win over Philly, disappeared down the stretch.
Yeah.
2 points in the fourth quarter and only like 3 shot attempts. He's got to give them superstar effort for 4 quarters if they're to have any kind of chance against Giannis Antetokounmpo, Malcolm Brogdon, Chris Middleton, and the resurgent, is it Brooke or Robin? And one of those Stanford Lopez's made a lot of threes.
Yeah.
I get them mixed up. So Milwaukee's deeper. They're better defensively. And they seem to have the right groove right now. Plus, they've got a transcendent talent in the Greek Freak.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking that they come out of this series in 6 games. Toronto missed a golden opportunity to steal one in game one to really make things interesting. Don't be surprised if Milwaukee blows them out in game 2.
Yeah, I thought they not only wasted a good night by Kyle Lowry, but, they had a fairly significant lead. And, that early going, there were stretches of that game in the first half between Milwaukee and Toronto that looked like a preseason game. I mean, it was bad misses and ill-advised shots and turnovers, and it was just clunky at points. But Toronto gets out to that big lead. You wondered if maybe they'd be riding momentum, or would they potentially be a little worn out after the adrenaline of that Game 7 win. At the same time, you had the Bucks coming off a long layoff. Would they be a little rusty? You saw some of that, but Toronto gets out to the lead, and then, again, in Milwaukee, a chance to win that game, not walking away with a W there. I'm not sure it spells disaster for Toronto, but I do think Milwaukee is the better team, and I think that's one of those things that, it may not be the psychological killer to Toronto, but man, that's a boost in Milwaukee that they got. They got a big night out of Lopez, a guy that, was cast off by other teams, not expected to be, much of a factor at all. He was huge in that game. Rebounds, shots, momentum. They get a role player to really step up and play well for them, in addition to their big guns playing pretty well as well. So to me, that's the type of thing that, get you back, get you feeling like that momentum's behind you, got the wind in your sails. So, it's really hard to pick against a team that sort of weathered, some of Toronto's best shots in that game, came back from a lead, was able to, I don't know what happened to Kawhi. Said I'm not, maybe you could diagnose it, but, maybe he was a little worn out after the adrenaline of Game 7. That shot he hit was amazing. I don't know, does that wear a guy out? I think it would energize me, but maybe he was feeling some ill effects of that. He's got to be better, though, in the rest of the series, or they don't stand a chance.
Exactly. And I don't think he's winded because he took 73 games off last season. He should be great.
Ready to go.
The Spurs think he should be fresh. I know that. He's just going to have to work harder to get to the ball. They're doing a good job of making him work to get open. And once he's open, the shot clock is down to 5 or 6 seconds. So they're going to need other guys like Siakam and Danny Green to take a little bit of pressure off. Boy, Marc Gasol was jacking up a lot of threes, and he was missing. I'm like, dude, I know you're Marc Gasol, but you're not Marc Gasol from 2012. You're Marc Gasol from 2019. And so they're more than happy to let you shoot those 3-pointers while Kawhi Leonard's overstanding in the corner wondering why he can't get the ball.
Well, I'll leave you with this, Cedric. If people are out there thinking, man, we haven't got to see a lot of the Bucks this year. I know they were on TV more than normal, but now you get to watch Giannis all the time. You can focus in. He does some of the most amazing things. It's worth just watching him while the rest of the action's going on, what he can do offensively, what he can do defensively. We now have it on full display in these Eastern Conference Finals. I'm with you, Cedric. I think the Bucks win this one too. And so we get to watch him in the finals, I would imagine, as well. But what a treat that guy is. Unbelievable talent. I'm sure we'll be talking about him more in the coming weeks on the Writer's Block. Hope you'll join us then. But that's all for this week. Thanks a lot.